Okay, so hello, welcome back. So today we are going to check with module import export in JavaScript. Okay, so for that we are going to do some Node.js project setup. There is a meaning of this initial setup for the module import and export. Because of that reason, we are going to do Node.js project setup. Okay, so Node.js project setup. So as we know, like we are going for this backend development course, right? So our main module in this entire course is Node.js because we are going to develop backend application. Okay, not in the front end, backend application we are going to develop means it's a server part completely. Okay, we are going to do our own server setup and we are going to create some API. So all those things are main motto of the course. But because of that reason, we have studied JavaScript and all right. So let's go and do some today Node.js project setup. Okay. So basically it means like creating one file. So that file have all the, so once we do this setup, so it's very basic step we have to follow to do Node.js project setup. Okay, it's not like in Java we saw like so many jar files we have to install in order to do some initial setups and so on. Okay, but in Node.js very simple way and very precise way we can do the setup. Okay, and only one file will be created when we run some command of setup. Okay, that file is basically for entire knowledge or metadata of the project. Metadata of the project in the sense means that file contains all the information like what your project dependent on, what is your project name, how it will run, how it can be tested. So what are the dependencies, what are the other library we are using in order to achieve our project. So every information in the will be entered in that file, okay, in the first initial setup. So let's go back and we'll try. So yeah, so see here. So we are going to do Node.js Hello World program. So to Hello World program we are going to. So already we have to figure it out like in our system there is Node.js installed in our system. So already we have Node.js installed in our system. So if in order to check with that, just in any new system you are going in order to verify like whether Node.js has got properly installed or not. In that case, you can just write node space hyphen v or npm space hyphen v. Okay, so that command if you write, you will get to know if node will be there, it will just tell yeah some version it will display like what is the latest, what are the version is installed in your system. If not, then it will tell node is not recognized, something error will come. Okay, if node is not installed. Okay, so that is one part, so no need to go and check. Okay, now next is create a new directory for the project. Directory means a folder. So we are going to create a folder. So in your Windows system, you can just go to some drive and there you can create one new folder. Okay, so same way in the what is that Mac, we can go and do using GUI, or we can go to command prompt or terminal and we can just create a mkdir and folder. So same way we will go here, we'll go to Finder, and then here I'm just going to download and I'm just creating the new folder. Okay, so new folder, I'm just keeping the name as test hyphen API. So whenever we are going to create any Node.js application, better to write hyphen API as a postfix name. Okay, any name you write, but better to prefer, because API, I'll explain later what is API all about, but backend application folder should be like this. If you follow, it will be good because it won't be any like confusion between your front end application and backend application later. Okay, so try to follow like this step, like yeah, you have to write like project name hyphen API. Okay, so that I'll discuss like why API I'm telling you to write that. Okay, so that folder we have created. So in this using command prompt you can do mkdir and the project name means folder name. In that way also you can create, but we followed our GUI steps and we have created the folder. Okay, so that we have done. Now let's go inside the folder. So we have to go inside the folder. So we will go inside the folder. So in that case, what we'll do, either we will open this folder in the VS Code, right? So instead of going to CD my node project, so we'll just open this folder into VS Code. So let's go to VS Code and let's open folder. We'll go to desktop and we'll click on text API, which does not have any files or folder inside it, right? It's an empty file. Nothing is there in that. So just open this. Okay. Okay. Now we have nothing in this folder, right? It's an empty folder. So next what we are going to do, we are going to initialize a project, means we are going to run our first command in the folder to get some initial setup of the project, okay, of the server. So in order to achieve that, we will just run one command, that is npm-init, means to initialize the project. So in that case, we will just go for new terminal. We'll go to terminal and we are in the same test API path. Okay, now we'll just do npm space init. Okay, so once we run this command, then what happens? Okay, what happens if I run this command? So for that, we have to go and check in the. So first of all, this command will ask, do so many things. It will ask with you so many things. So next we are going to see. So once we run this npm init, first of all, it will ask your package name. Okay, so package name is nothing but like the application name which you are going to create. So by default, it will be the folder name. So already we have created folder name as test-API. So you can write it or you can leave it. No issue. It will just take the entry by the default based on the folder name. Okay, whatever you have created. Now next it will ask. So it will ask all these steps by steps. It will ask. Okay, step by step it will ask. So next it will ask version. So version is like, this is a first project, initial project. So it always starts from 1.0.0. Okay, so about this version system, what is 1.0.0, why 3 are there, what is 1.0.1, what is 2.0.1, or what is 1.2.1. So all those changes of the version we will discuss in detail in the further classes. Okay, so why that version is having 3 and what is the changes between all the 3 values. Okay, so all those things, at what case or what stage we will change for each of the value. Okay, so that we'll see in the further classes. Okay, next it will ask you the description, like, okay, you are creating this project, so what this project all about, brief somewhat. Like, let's suppose you are creating project for hotel management, or you are creating project for some library management or any other things, then you can just write a description. That is optional. If you want to write, you write, or else leave it, no issue for that. Okay, now what should be your JavaScript file? First JavaScript file in your folder. So by default it is taking as index.js, but you can write it as an entry. But this does not create in any JavaScript file in your folder. This is just an entry. We are giving some information. Because why we are giving information means, when tomorrow if anyone is taking your project, then by coming to this files, they will understand what is your project all about and what are the starting file, because there are lots of file in your project. So what is the initial starting file? So based on that, they will track and they will understand your project. Okay, next will be the test command. So test command is basically for testing the project. Like if any testing you have to do, like you wrote some code and you want to test it time to time. So there are strong meaning of testing to our Node.js application, okay, which are not going to cover in this course. Okay, so testing is very important, because without testing, if you go to server and anything breaks, then it will be trouble for your software. Okay, so that's why we are going to do. But as of now, we don't have any test command because we are not going to test. That is not a part of our course, so we'll leave it as it is. Same way, git repository. So it's saying git repository. So git repository is something like you have to store this project, this folder entirely to the cloud, means to the place where anywhere, any place, any person can access this. Because see, now you are creating, I'm creating one folder in my system, so only I can access this. But let's suppose tomorrow my laptop got some issue, some problem, then I cannot get that folder right with me in other laptop. So in order to make available in anywhere, any places, we will just keep this on the cloud, so that anywhere, from anywhere we can access. So we'll see detail in the Git in the further classes. Okay, next, the keyword. So see, whatever project we develop in Node.js, it's similar to, there is a npm.js, so that I can't discuss right now. Okay, once I'll go to Node.js, that time I'll discuss. So if any people searching your project, like let's suppose they are searching, some places are there, some websites are there where all these packages will be there. Okay, so there, people going there and searching, like let's suppose test API, or let's suppose they are searching like library management. So based on the keyword which they search, that keyword, if it matches to your keyword, whatever you have provided here, tags, basically it all called as a tags. So when that is matches here, then your project will display on the top. So something like that it will happen. Okay, so that is the use of keyword. So who is author? Author as a name suggests like, yeah, who is the creator of this project? So that we have to write here. And license, it's a standard license has been provided so that it's written over there. So we leave it as it is. So let's start this. So before going to test this, just I thought to explain you so that again I'll come and I'll explain it. So this is the thing. Once everything in command you will give all the input, then you will get one package.json file to be created in your folder by default, and that package.json will have all the entries which you have provided while initiating the project. So see here, name will be test API, so which you have given package name. Version will be 1.0, description whatever you have written. Entry file is nothing but main. Script is nothing but the test command what you are writing, so that is keyword is nothing but array of keyword, because we have lots of keyword we can define, right? So that keyword, who is the author, so everything. So this file will be created. This much only is the Node.js setup. Okay, so let's start now. So once I do npm init, so I'll just enter. Okay, now see, now what it's telling. It's asking package name. So package name is test API. Either we write or it's take by default. Okay, version, okay, no issue. Description, I'll just write it's a Node.js test application. I'll just write. Okay, entry point, I'll just write index.js for other people to understand, or for further in the future for reference to get to know. Okay, test command we are leaving as it is. Git repository we don't have, we are leaving as it is. Keyword, I'll just write test hyphen APIs. Okay, author, I'm writing Sandeep, because I'm the author, I have created, so you can write it your name. Okay, so after writing this, it will ask license will leave it as it is as a standard. Now what it's asking, like whatever the entry you have done is all are correct and fine. So if everything is fine, then just you write yes. Okay, once you create, see now there is no files in the folder, right? But once you write S and then if you enter, you will see one file will be created, and this entire object which has created based on the entry of this will be stored there. So just press enter, you can see one package.json file has got created, and you can see whatever entry we did, everything is created here. Okay, so this is only done for the Node.js project setup. Understood? That's it. So that is the only one for Node.js project setup. So that's it for Node.js project setup. Okay. So why I told regarding this, why I thought to make you do this means there is some reason regarding this. Okay. Well, we are going for module import and export. So let's get back to our main topic, that is module export and import. Okay. So module, what module means? See, you have your books, like so many books you have, right? So books having the chapters, right? Chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. So same way, one project we are going to develop, that will be divided with folders and files, right? So many files will be there, so many folders will be there. So all files or all folders will call it as one module. It's like one chapter is one module. So one JS file in your project is called as one module. So now after understanding this much regarding the module, now we have to understand like what module stores. We are telling module, but what it stores. So we have to understand like what our JavaScript file store, what we can do, what we can write in our JavaScript file. Means we can in JavaScript what by file what we do. We create a variable, we create a function, we create a classes, we create data, we write a data, static data, we create so many things. So all these things will be stored in one file. So that file itself is called as a module. Okay, and that file data, the variable, the functions will not be accessible to any other files or any other places, because that will become a private. So whatever variable you will create, whatever functions you will create, whatever data you will write in that file, everything will be for that specific file. We can't access from other file. Okay, it is like encapsulated, like how in capsule you will see inside medicine will be there, so that medicine is not available outside of the world, right? So same way file is called as encapsulated. Okay, so it will encapsulate with variables, functions and all. So that will be not be shareable by any other way. Okay, means other file you will go and you want to access to previous file, then you can't able to access, right? So to solve that problem, like let's suppose there is some case like I wanted to write some generic things in one file and I wanted to reference to that file in wherever different file or another file or multiple file we are creating. So in order to reuse the code, right? So let's suppose you are creating a function in one file, like one JS file, and you want to reference that file, that function. Then it's not instead of creating your again the same function, you can reference from that file, right? So that type of things reusability also will denote in the modules. Okay, so as I suggest, so as I told, so we can study here. The JavaScript module is self-contained piece of code that is called means piece of code it is that is a file, right? So is a file that encapsulated related functions, variables, objects, classes, so whatever we are storing, whatever we are writing in the JS file, all those things are encapsulated. Okay, so it's encapsulated so to do some project, and it is encapsulated in one place, and then it will be for some specific purpose we are writing. Okay, it will be organized. Okay, so all those things are there. Now in order to access that files and folders, sorry, files, that data or the variable or the functions from another file, we are going to use import and export. So first we will see if we are creating anything in one file, whether we are able to access that in another file or not. Okay, that we are first going to see. Then we'll come up again with the import and export feature. So let's create one file. So I'm just creating one import, not import. First we'll do export, export.js. Why I wrote export.js means, see, anything, why export I wrote? Because export is the first thing comes before the import, because export is what? Export is a producer who is trying to make available the things. Like, see, your shopkeeper is the first person to take all the products which you are buying there, right? So first shopkeeper should exist, then you are going to take that things, like you are going to import that things. So that's why I've created export.js, and then I have created import.js. Okay, so simply I have written the file does not mean like it's going to export or import, just the name of the file it is. Okay, so don't think like if I'm creating the file name as export.js, then everything will be exported or everything will imported. Nothing will happen. It's just simple name of the file. Okay, so I'm just doing clear and here. So what I thought, what I told you previously, first we are going to, without using module import and export, we are going to access the variables or the functions from one file to another file, and let's see whether we are able to achieve or not. So let's create here file, sorry, variable. Let's create a variable called data. Okay, so let's create a variable called data. So I'm just writing a data one array, right? And there I'm writing John, Harry. Okay, and a similar way we are just creating one function. So let's create a function ABC, or just I'm writing get data, something like that. Get data. Okay, and just printing console.log the data inside the function. Okay, so this is the function. Okay, so similar way we can create an object also. Okay, it's an array, it's an object, or whatever you want you can create, or you can create a class also, but class we have not studied, that is the reason I'm not writing. Okay, or else we can do the class as well. Okay, so this type of things will be there in your JS file. So this is called a module. Now if we try to access here in this file, this export.js, this data and this get data functions, we are easily able to access, right? So if I just do console.log, and I'll just write a data, and same way if I just do log, and I'll try to write the get data. Okay, so it's simple, like just we'll execute this export.js. So node export.js, so we are able to get the data and the file, right? So both we are able to get. This undefined is coming because this file is not, this function is not returning anything. That is the reason it's coming undefined, and both the things are just console. So it's like double console for this. That is the reason you are seeing here undefined. Okay, If it returns anything, then you can see some data, something like that. If you do know, then it will return something. Okay, so something like this. Okay, so that is fine. So now see, now we are able to access this data and functions inside export.js. But let's suppose in import.js, I wanted to access those data. So if I write here console.log and data, what we'll get? We'll get error because we are going to ask or access the things which is not available in that respective file. It is available in the previous file, right? So we will get error here, right? So once we'll try to do, oh, sorry, not in the import. I'll just write import, sorry, import. Okay, so see what we are getting. We are getting data is not defined, but we are saying, oh no, it's available in the previous file. Why you can't take from there? Okay, but it's not accessible or it's not possible to do that. So because the data or the functions or the variables which are available in this file will not be transferred to any of the file. That is one kind of advantage, to make everything private to one file so that it won't mismatch to another file. Okay, otherwise other file will override. Okay, so that is one kind of thing. So this data cannot be used in this. Okay, so in order to make this available so that other files can access that, we have two way of doing. One way is using import and export keyword. Okay, this import and export keyword came in ES6 feature, that JavaScript upgraded feature. Okay, but before this we were having JavaScript common JS that was called as require. Okay, oh, what it happened, require. Okay, so using require also we can able to access the data, okay, from one file to another file. So we'll go and check both of the things. Okay, so let's first go and try with require. Okay, so try with require, then we'll go for the advanced level. Okay, so if I wanted to see, so first, if you want to import here, then first you have to export from this file, right? So first you have to export from this file. So in order to do that, first I'll try to change this name. It's not for the things, but because so that it will confuse you, because what you will think, no, like because it is export, so that we are able to export. No, no, no. I'll just write index.js so that you won't get confused later. Okay. And I'll just write here, what is that? Data.js. Okay, something like that. I'm just renaming it so that it won't be confusing for you. Now, let's suppose if I want to export from index.js so that data.js can access that data or the functions or the variables, okay, from this file to this file. First, now see, data.js becomes the consumer, that is we, but index.js became the producer, means that is a shopkeeper, that is a shop or mall, okay, or the supermarket. So what these people will do, if let's suppose anything comes to DMart, as you have understood, like DMart, right? So in DMart, let's suppose they brought so many things, like in the trucks or in the van, they brought so many things. But if they want display you in their market, in their place, in their space, like, okay, these things we have for the showpiece, so the showcase, if they are not make available to us, then how we can get that the things, right? So same thing, in order to make others available, first he has to tell, like, okay, these all things can be exported. Okay, I have 100 things with me, but I wanted to export only some of the things from my file. Okay, so let's suppose in this code we have one variable and one functions, but let's suppose I wanted just a variable to be exported, not the functions, variable to be exported. It means like we have two product in our supermarket, but we are hiding this get data and we are showcasing this data in front of the in the this one rack or in the showpiece. Then what happens? Only people can buy this one, but people cannot buy this. Okay, so same thing we'll try to do. So to in order to showpiece or showcase to the customer, we have, and using the require we are going for. So using the require, so what we have to do first, we have to means showpiece. To showpiece we have module dot export. Oh, what is happening? module dot exports. Where is that? Exports, module dot exports. So here we have object, so we can just write the data. Okay, so we can just write the data. So let's suppose we are trying to only export the data. Now in this, instead of calling this direct, first you have to import from which file, because you have lot many file in your folder. Let's suppose in the later chapter, in the later classes, or in the when the project will be huge, you have so many files. So I wanted this data.js to access the data or the variable or the function from index.js file. So in order to get that, means first, see, if you want to get anything, first you will go to that shopkeeper, or you will bring that shopkeeper to you, right? So to access that, first you will catch the shopkeeper. So in order to do that, we'll use require. So that is require. Okay, so inside require we have to pass the path of the file. It's like a address of your dmart. Okay, so path of the file is index.js. So I'll write dot slash index or index.js. Okay, so that is one thing, and then we'll try to store, because from here we wanted to take the data from there, right? So I'll just write let what is that, what I can write with that, let some data. Okay, let some data. Okay, so that we have written here. Now we are telling, okay, import from this file. Okay, import from this file, and I wanted to sorry, export from this file, so that this is exportable, and then this file is trying to import this. Now I'll write some data. Now let's see, if we are printing some data, then what it's getting printed. Okay, so same thing. Now I'll do node import. Okay, cannot find module. Oh, sorry, it's not an import now, it's a data.js now, right? So I'll just make changes. Node data.js. Now see what is happening. The data inside the functions. Why no data.js? Okay, means some data it's trying to get all the things from this functions, right? But basically we have not transferred it anything. We have just transferred the variable. So maybe I'm just thinking why. Oh, it's trying to call this basically. Okay, it's trying to call this. So basically we have yeah, that's right. Because I'm calling this everything, this entire this one. That's why it's trying to call this. So some data has access. So let's again try to print. So we have object called data, okay, and we are getting this data. So see, this variable was in this function, right? This variable was this function and having John and Harry as a data to this variable. But this variable I'm trying to export. So that's why, and that too with the object. So that is the reason it's coming object and data with John and Harry. So see, now this data I'm able to access in the data file. Okay, so let's suppose if I'll do some data dot data, then we can get the actual data, that is array. So now by this way we are able to import data or the variable from one file to another file. Now let's try with get data. Get data. Okay, so let's try with the get data. So still we are getting get data is not a function. Why it's saying get data is not a function? Because if you come to index.js, you are doing basically you are exporting only the data. You are not exporting the get data, right? So if you export the get data and the data, in that case scenario, you can able to access here, right? So if you export this as well, get data, okay, entire file, then you can call that file. So now it will be accessible. See the data inside the functions and data, right? So whatever you want to get from another file, first of all you have to do, you have to export. So to export this, you have to do module dot export. So what you want to export? So you want to export what and all things. So whatever things we want to make export to the people, that we have to write it here. Okay, then in the data.js we have to reference first you have to reference that file. So from which file you want to get the data? So from index.js file. So we are using require, we are getting index.js file, right? So with reference of this, now whatever the export feature has been written in this index.js file, those all only we can import here. Okay, those all only we can import here. So first of all, it was written only data. So that's why we are able to only access the data, not the get data. But later we made it get data also available here. Okay, so that we are able to access here. But if let's suppose if other things are there, like let's suppose I'm just creating here object. Okay, some object. I'm just writing name as John. Okay, but this object is not exported. So if I try to access this, okay, obj, we can't able to access. Okay, data we are able to access, object we are not able to access. Okay, object we are not able to access. So it's a undefined, right? So something like that, it is there. So this is one way. So anything, so you have to keep in mind anything if you want to export or import from one file to another file, first you have to go to that file and you have to make module.export and write all the things what you want to make it export. That is the first step. Second step, you have to go and write the require functions. So these require functions will take the path of the file from where you want to import, right? The path we have written. So these are in the same folder. That's why we have written /index. That's it. Okay. Either you can write .js or no need to write .js. Okay. It's automatically takes the .js file. Okay. Now with reference of that, you can access this data and get data. So same way I have get a reference of data and get data. Okay. So that's why now we are able to transfer the files or sorry functions or variables, okay, or the objects or classes from one file to another file using this technique. Understood? That is using require. But another way is using module.export or import. Okay, using using import and export mechanism we are going to see, which are in the ES6 feature which came into exist. Okay, so let's get back to this one. So in order to use this import or export, okay, we have two keyword, right? One import and one export. So anything you want to export, you have to write as an export. Anything you want to import, you have to write as an import. Like how you create, if you let's suppose if you want to create a function, what you will write? You will write a function keyword, right? If you want to create a variable, what you will write? You will write a let keyword. Similar to that, you have to write import keyword with something and export keyword with something. Okay, so these are the two keywords used for import and export of the data. Okay, but this keyword will only work when we have this entry in our package.json. If we don't have this entry, because we have to make our system to understand this import and export. This is not of the JavaScript latest, that this Node.js. Okay, so that's why we have to entry this type module. Okay, once we entry this inside the package.json, at that case only we are able to use this. Okay, we are able to use this. Fine, so we'll test this. Okay, or either in the script we can write type module. So this way also in the script in the browser you can do this. Okay, so that is one case. So just as of now you understand, if you want to use this import and export, you have to make type :module in your package.json. That you have to do first. That's why I've written in the note. Okay, before doing module import and export, then only you can use this two keyword. Okay, so that is one thing. Now let's go for. So first of all, already I taught you, like first of all we are going for export, then we'll go for import. Okay, so first exporting in JavaScript. So there are two way of exporting. One is named export and one is default export. So what is named export and default export, I'll explain in the further. Okay, so one is named, one is default. Named is nothing but like named, like that is having some name. Like see, you have already one functions like anonymous function and some normal function. So normal function will have the name, right? Function with the name as fun1 or get data or put data, something like that. So that is name. So that is named function. And if anonymous function means just you will have the function keyword with open bracket, close bracket and curly bracket. That is anonymous, means it doesn't have any name. So similar to that, it is named and named is there, but unnamed is not there here. Okay, and one more export is default export. Default export, as a brief I can tell, by default, see if you are going to export anything, so it's fine, but this will be done by the default. Automatically it should get export. Okay, so whenever anyone calls that file, automatically this should get export. So that is default export. So I'll discuss in the later. Okay, same way we are importing. So to this both we are trying to import. So we are trying to import named export. We are trying to import default export. Okay. So this is one example it's written. So see export.js file. We have one variable created. Let count equal to 1. So what we are going to do, either we can write export count or else direct export let count equal to 1 you can write. Okay. So both way you can write to export to make means for the other world available to so that they can use this count. Okay. Similar to that in import.js what you can write import keyword, because see you can see here export keyword, import keyword. So import keyword. So whenever you are going to take any named export, you have to write it in the curly bracket. Okay. So curly bracket. So you have to write import curly bracket count from dot whatever the file name. Okay. Whatever the file name. So import and from is the two things keyword you have to use here. Okay. So from which file name? So dot slash export.js, and then you can directly access the count. Okay. So that is one thing. So let's go and try. So first of all, we are going to try without using the type module, and we'll try to check whether we are able to do or not. Okay. So let's create count equals some data. I'm just writing John. Okay. This is the variable we have created. Okay. Now let's try to export. So export will do okay, no, not equals. Export count. So we are just writing export this count. Okay, that is one thing. So similar to that, data what we are going to write? We are going to write import, okay, count from the file. So which file you want to import? So that is index, right? So now you can just do console.log and then count. Okay. So this is the two things, like one is exporting and one is importing. So let's again run node data.js. So once I run this node data.js, what it's telling it cannot find the module import or export keyword. So what they are telling suggesting us to add type module to package.json in order to work this. Okay. So same thing we are going to do. So we are going in package.json, and anywhere, wherever you want, you can just insert that type module. Okay. Now, if I'll clear it and once I'll run this, what is that? Okay. Do we need to delete the terminal? Let's see. Do you mean to? Oh, okay. Once again. We have to write here proper path here. Okay. Dot slash index.js in this case. Okay. Now see, we have John. Okay. So we have John. So basically we are able to get the value from this file and we are able to import that in this file. Okay. We are able to import that in this file. So this is basically import or export. So this is just a generic scenario I have given, right? But next slide we are going to discuss what is named export, what is default export, how we can do named export and how we can do default export. Okay. So all those things we are going to check in the further slide. So you understand this much at least, how to import, export. What is this actually module import and export? Amar, is it fine till now? Okay, okay. This all requires the practice. Okay, just follow this one time and just practice it. Okay, okay. Next we'll go for named export. So okay, let's go for named export. So named export, as suggest, it has the name, right? Whatever the things you have, like whatever the functions or whatever the variables you have, okay, all those will have the name. So see, here we have pi is the name, add is the name, calculator is the name, right? So all these has the name, right? So in that case, what you can do, if you want to export, then you have to just write export their name. Okay, if you want to do multiple export, all the three export, then just write with the comma. Okay, just write with the comma. So same way you are writing here. See, So we have one variable called count, second variable called min, and third variable called max. So all three variable we are trying to export. So min, max, count. So as we did here, right? So we just did export count. Okay. So we want to export that. So if you want to export that, we write like this. And then if you want to export functions, then just as it is. Same, you can just write instead of count, you can just write the functions. Like let's suppose if you have a function, okay, function get data, okay, and some logs. I'll just write the logs, something like that. Okay, so to export that, just write comma and just write get data. That's it. Okay, so this is the way to export. Okay, this is the way to export. Understood? Now this is the export, named export. Okay, now next is default export. Default export always means, let's suppose you want to, let's suppose you don't want to export anything from the file, okay, other than one single data. Okay, that single data should be exported by default. You should not write like, yeah, this should get export or what. So anything, any data, any one specific data, if you want to export by default, then you can write as a default, export default. Okay, and there won't be any multiple default in your file. There only one will be one single that can be default exported. Okay, so see, so either you can write export default. If you don't want to write default, just write export. Okay, just write export. If you want to export multiple, then just write export. If you want to make it that, okay, this function has to get default export, so just write export default. That's it. Okay, or export default message, or export default let message. So something this similar way you can write as a default export. Okay, if you want to do for functions, then just write export default. Okay, and similar way we can write and one more thing, like one more thing, what is there, like this data you have got in this, and again the same data you want to transfer, means you want to transfer to another file. So let's suppose if I have created one more file called abc.js, and that abc, either it can access the data from index.js directly, or else it can access from this, the same count. So from here again you have to write export, means it can be re-exported. Okay, from here it can be, it's like a hierarchy manner, like index to data, data to abc, like that, or else directly index to abc, like that also you can do. So there is re-exporting features are also there in JavaScript. Okay, so re-exporting, see, I have just imported in from other module, and again I'm exporting that. So it's like a transfer between one file to another file. So index file, this count has been transferred to data.js file, and then from here again it is getting exported and it can be accessed in abc.js file. So here also it can be imported either from data.js file or from index.js file. So any file it can be imported, this count. Okay, so this type of scenarios are there for import and export, and this features is very important, okay, in our upcoming things. Okay, so same way it's telling like import named. So how we can import, so that we saw export, right? But how we can import, so import is also same, either you can write import and it should be in the curly bracket, so you have to write min max increase from whatever the file name. Okay, whatever the file name, so whatever things you want to get import, that only you can write. Like see, if it is exporting count and get data, but you only want the count from this, in the data you only want the count, you don't want the get data, so that case what you write, you just write the count. If you want only the get data, not the count, then just delete that count and just write get data, so that all the files, all the data of that file should not come and simply sit on your file. Right, why we have given a specific name means, so that other variables, data and all are not imported here, so that memory will get saved. Because if you export, if you import entire things, let's suppose it has 100 things and you are importing entire things, then that case what happens, simply without using also you are doing lots of memory uses, right? But if you are just writing the specific, I want from entire this space, this let's suppose 1000 variables or functions are there, I want just only one, or I want just only specific 2 3 4 5, so that time you can just write get data or the name of that to be imported. Okay, so that they are telling. Okay, now let's suppose if you want to import everything, okay, everything like all the things which is exported here. So everything, like not writing, see, let's suppose here it might be like some other name. So many names will be there, right? So many variables or functions, so many things are there. But if you want to import everything, then instead of writing entire this, you can just write a star. Okay, star. You can just write star and just give as a that star name as some name. Like let's suppose if you give name as obj or something, you can give name. Okay, that means what happens now, export import entire things whatever is written in the export other than writing all these things. Okay, other than writing each name of the export. So what will happen, like here these all, if let's suppose these all variables are there, then directly you can access any that. Now this object will have the real object. This object inside it will be their count, so you can write obj dot count, obj dot get data, obj dot dajhd, so whatever, so obj dot. So you can export either entire if you want, or else you can import only using curly bracket respective name. Okay, so that is their written. So say import star as obj, so we can write obj dot increase. Okay, so something like that, obj dot mean. Okay, so these all things are there. Okay, so same way importing the functions, like same already we know, like functions means writing the function name, import, and then using calling that. That's it. That is the import method. Okay, understood? So see here I'm just get data is there, right? So I'll just write delete this, and same thing I showed here already. If you want only get data, then what we can do, we can just write curly bracket and just write get data. Okay, and that get data you can call as it is. Okay, fine. Now if you do, you can get the ABC, because ABC it's consoling the ABC, right? It's consoling the ABC and it's not returning anything, that's why it's creating undefined. Okay, so you can do like this way. But one more feature are there. Let's suppose you have written here get data, so for this file it is get data, but let's suppose for this file also it's get data, so it's like a confusion type, right? So if you want to give new name to this functions, so in order to achieve that, just write as, means I want get data functions only, but not as the name of get data. I want get data as a name as data, something like that. Get data name as data. So instead of get data, you can call data. Means basically for this data.js file, get data becomes the name, renaming happened for this get data functions. Okay, renaming happened. The function didn't get changed, but only the renaming happened. So if you want to do rename of any variables and all, in order to make the separation between the two files, okay, you can write renaming using as. Okay, so those all things you can do. Understood? And require module already have taught you before only. So what require module will do, any functions if you want to do module.export, that function name will write or object will write, and then directly in here you can just execute it. Okay, so maximum cases we are going to see requires only in our project, but you have to understand this module.export and import as well. Okay, so that is the reason I have just written that. Okay, I have taught you this import export. So this I told you already, Node.js is nothing but we have to write it, we have to execute and check it. There is not any logical kind of things like heavy logical, like you have to think something and write. No, you have to follow. That is Node.js. Okay, so these all topics are just you have to follow, like okay, like this you will write, then we'll get this, or this way we have to write, then we'll get that output. Okay, so such you have to follow. If you want to import something, then just import in this format. If you want to export something, then just export right in this format. So just one time you read the format, and the same way you can just utilize. Understood? So that is the import and export. But there is a differences between require, as I told you, right? So there is a difference between require and the this module import and export. So some difference I'll be just telling you for the reference. Like see, the first is a common JS and it's a ES module, ES6 module or ES5 module, so something like that, import and export. Now another is require is synchronous in nature. Synchronous means already I have discussed in the long classes. Means till the file won't get execute, other things won't get execute. Okay, it will stop the execution till that is not getting executed. But this import and export are asynchronous. So this is major difference, okay, in interview, because so many people want able to get to know, they know the difference of requires and import and export, but they want to get to know the difference of synchronous and asynchronous. So you have to understand requires is always synchronous and import is always asynchronous. Okay, fine. Okay, no, that is not why, that is the way they have built. Normally require is synchronous means, see, if you write anything here, okay, let's suppose I'm just writing here data, okay, and I'm just writing here require uh, index.js, okay, and I'm just writing here console.log. I'm just writing data.count. Let's suppose I'm writing, okay, fine. And in the other console, I'm just writing console.log and some messages. Hello world. Okay. Now I don't think so this will affect because we are not having that heavy weightings and all. Okay. But see, but anyway, as we know, like first this will print, then this will print, right? So let's try to, what is that? Let's already we have exported count, right? So let's execute this data. Okay, because it's a module, that's why it won't work. It's telling. Okay, I'll just comment this out because if module will come, that will not work. Okay, so see, once John came, then hello day, hello world came, right? John came, then hello world came. Now let's do with import and export. Okay, but in this case also we'll give same answer because if we go and write the set timeout, no, then it will have some effect. Okay, if you'll have some set timeout or something like that, like some waiting period, then it might affect, I guess. Even I have not tried. Okay, let's see. So I'm just writing module type module. Now let's go to index.js page and data. So index.js, I can just try it same way, export this all. And maybe you didn't join because that is a ES6 features and ES6 feature does not support here by default. That's why we have to write type module entry here. Okay. Okay. So in that case, we are just exporting these two and we are trying to import this time. Okay. So I'll just write import. What is that? What is it? Count, right? So count from dot slash index.js we have to write. Okay. So let's try with that. Okay. So I'll just write count here. Oh, I'm doing it in object format I'm returning. Let's do only this. Why I need to keep simply in object. I'll just try this so that directly we can access. Why it's saying, why is it like this way? I don't know, maybe something, it's exports, not exports, export only, right? No, 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 it's not exports, it's export only, right? See, export. Okay, maybe we have to write in the curly only. Okay, let's see, no problem, it's fine. Let's make it. Okay, so here we can just write a count and let's see. So now I think we are expecting hello world and then we are expecting this, right? So let's try. Maybe it's working or not, it's synchronous. No, it's not working. Got it. Something like that is there. We didn't able to check right now. So maybe if we go and do some heavy load and all work is there, no, that time it might like want to stop, right? That time it might want to stop and it will go for further execution. That is asynchronous, as we know. That type of things might be there. Okay. So we are not able to test it here. Okay, so that is the major difference of this import and export. Okay, fine. So require does not have the default, but import has the default export, right? So all those things are there, right? So used in Node.js in the require and used in modern Node.js and the browser in the ES module. So all those things are there. Okay, fine. So that's it for module import and export. So this much only you need to know about. So just go through properly, read it things and then execute it. Okay, based on that you will get so many knowledge of import and export. Okay, and practice it. Just create the same way, the file 2 3 file you create, and just try to create some variable functions and just try to export it and try to import it, try to print it without importing, without exporting, all those things. Practice it, automatically you will get the idea. Okay, if it won't able to access, then you'll understand, okay, why the error is coming, then you have to fix that error. So many things you will learn. Okay, so this is the way to transfer the variables functions data between one file to another file, and this is very most important things while going to study Node.js, because in Node.js when we are going to develop all the application, maximum time it is there, like we have to do this type of things, like we have to do some require, we have to do get some things from the outside library, some things from in between our project. Okay, so that time it is very much useful. Okay, so try to read and understand this. Okay, thank you. Then let's connect for the next class. We'll go for some other topics.